It's the eye of the storm, so says an important investment bank. The worst is yet to come for the markets and the economy. We'll examine their data and give you answers you can act on now. America's Nightly Scoreboard starts right now. And hello, everyone. I'm Lori Rothman, in for David Asman tonight. I guess it's true. The president does listen. The president finally going to announce a major jobs initiative, and he'll do it appropriately around Labor Day. Will it rescue our nation and his presidency? Let's get reaction straight to Peter Schiff of Euro-Pacific Capital. Peter, great to see you. All right, so the president making a big deal about this jobs plan, but we don't get to hear the real detail of it until the fall. What's this all about?
Well, I don't think we need to hear the detail. We pretty much know what he's going to propose, and that's more government. I mean, that's all he knows.
But he said there would be new detail. He said there'd be new ideas.
I doubt it. I mean, it's going to be the same old ideas rehashed again and again. It's not going to help. You know, the only way to actually create jobs is to get the government out of the way. President Obama has to understand that one of the reasons that jobs are not being created is because of him, because of his policies, because of the rules and the regulations and the government spending that are getting in the way of legitimate job creation.
But these are the ideals, the philosophies, if you will, that we have been bouncing around since well before the deficit reduction talks and the ultimate deal to raise the debt ceiling that ultimately ended in the S&P downgrade, of course. So where's the compromise? I mean, can you take some ideas from both the Republican and the Democratic parties?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of the Republican ideas are still about deficit spending. Some of the Republicans do want tax cuts, but they don't want to offset it with spending cuts. And the real burden that the government places on the economy is not the tax, but what it spends, because those are all resources that the private sector no longer has to invest and grow the economy. So we need to have a much smaller government in order to have a more vibrant economy that can really produce legitimate wealth and jobs. All we got before was a stimulus-induced high. We didn't have a real recovery. That's why it's fading away. And that's why we're headed back into recession.
So what is going on with a lot of the talk right now? You probably saw that journal story today suggesting that the market's message right now is expectations of another round of stimulus. And I actually asked another market strategist today about that, and he said, well, we already know we've got a stimulus with the Fed's target on interest rates through 2013 or through the next election.
Well, the problem
That's got to be infuriating to you.
Well, the problem is the stimulus is actually an economic sedative. The only thing it stimulates is more government, more spending, more debt. That's not what the economy needs. We have too much of those things. We're not going to solve a crisis that was caused by excess debt and excess spending by borrowing and spending more. We have to do the exact opposite of what we did to get into this ditch. But what we're doing now is digging it deeper.
The economy, what do you think? I mean, there's continued talk of double dip, depression. HSBC Bank, an important influential bank, saying this is just the eye of the storm, the recent market stabilization, some green shoots, if you will, some better economic news. Don't get excited.
Yeah, I think HSBC has been reading my stuff. Maybe they're watching my video blogs and they're finally coming around to my way of thinking. But, you know, I don't even call it a double dip because, number one, that assumes that the second dip is it. I mean, it's going to be a triple dip, a quadruple dip. I mean, I think it's just one big depression interrupted by some stimulus spending where we just go deeper into debt. But until we understand the root cause of our problems, which is cheap money, artificially low interest rates, excess government manipulation of the economy through spending and taxation, until we reverse all the policies that caused the problem, we're not going to solve it. We're just going to make it worse.
One of the Federal Reserve officials, the Dallas Fed Bank President Richard Fisher, who was one of the dissenters, in other words, he disagreed with the decision to leave rates at these historic lows, gave a speech today, as I'm sure you know, Peter, saying that this monetary policy is just going to lead to further problems with unemployment. It's not good. All of this liquidity in the system, all this extra money that the Federal Reserve has been printing is just sitting there. It's not being used. Do you think that the chorus can grow here? Because it sounds like you would agree with the Dallas Fed president here.
Yeah, well, the money is being used. It's used to finance bigger government, and that's why it's undermining the economy. You know, I wish Rick Perry wasn't taking back his statements. I think Ben Bernanke is a traitor. I used to call Alan Greenspan a traitor all the time. He was a traitor to everything he believed in, to free markets, to the Constitution. I mean, the Federal Reserve is undermining our economy, undermining it more than probably, any trader could have. And, the founding fathers, they looked upon counterfeiting. Ron Paul mentioned that there was a death penalty for counterfeiting. So I guess counterfeiting and treason are pretty close together because they both carried the death penalty.
So, no one's made that parallel quite yet. That's great, Peter. But let me ask you, we got some inflation data at the wholesale level. Ticked up a little bit, but, the dual mandate, the two jobs of the Fed, right, unemployment failing. Price control, though, a lot of people would argue Bernanke's having some success there.
No, he's not. I mean, first of all, the numbers are manipulated. I mean, they're kind of meaningless. Look at the price of gold. Look at the money supply going off the charts.
Well, that's a safe haven, the price of gold. That's just a flight to quality.
It's a safe haven from inflation. That's what it is. People
are buying it. And markets turmoil. Look at Europe. Look at Asia.
No. That's people that don't buy gold are trying to say that that's why people are buying it. I've been buying it for 10 years, and it's only because of debasement of the money. That's why I'm buying it, and that's why everybody else is buying it. But, look at that. I normally don't look at the core numbers because I think it's a waste, but look at that big jump up in the core. What's the Fed going to do with that?
Gas prices have come down. Oil was back around 80. It's come up some, of course.
It's almost 90. It's $88 a barrel. But, the trend is up. It doesn't matter. Nothing goes up in a straight line. The only reason oil prices came down was because the stock market came down.
You mentioned that the money is being used to fund the government, but what about in the banking system? I mean, I had a small business owner yesterday who was telling me he couldn't get banks to lend to him. I mean, there's a lot of money being stored up in the financial system.
How are the banks going to lend to businesses if they're putting all their money in treasuries? I mean, you can't lend to the government and to business at the same time. You got to make a choice. And right now, all the capital is going to Washington. So there's nothing left for the rest of the country. And growing the government doesn't produce prosperity. It doesn't create productive jobs. We have to pay for that big government. That is sucking the life out of the economy.
Peter, I know your voice is strange right now. It's wonderful to talk to you, but if you'd be great to hang out with us and comment further throughout the hour. Hang on.
Yeah, I'm going to drink some water. My voice
Okay, take a short break. Take a cough drop. Stick with us. The markets, as you know, barely budged today. A lot of folks welcome the relative calm following the last week of remarkable stock market volatility. But we were talking about this report from HSBC with Peter, which says do not get too complacent. The report predicting the markets will return to the same kind of insanity brought on by the collapse of Lehman Brothers. In fact, HSBC says it sees Lehman-like chaos brewing. Are they correct? Well, here to score it for us is Larry McDonald. Now, Larry used to work at Lehman Brothers and wrote a book, A Colossal Failure of Common Sense, detailing his experience, Larry, at Lehman Brothers.